Is it the player's fault? Is it the manager's fault? Who is to blame? Crystal Palace 0, Manchester United 0. I'm going to give you both sides of this game. I'm going to give you the players and the manager because I believe that both are to blame for this performance and for this result. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel right now so you can see more content of this quality. You know, the worrying thing, guys, is performance. Performance is a very worrying thing because you can only grind out results so far. There comes a point in time where if you're grinding out results and if your performances are poor, your performances will catch up to you and you will stop getting the desired results because you're performing poorly. That's why you see managers like Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, it almost seems as if they take more pleasure in the performance over the results because they know that if their team is performing well, the results will come. But it's when their team is performing poorly consistently, game after game, their team is performing poorly, and they can get the victory, but if they're performing poorly game after game, that means there's a problem, and that means down the line, they are going to encounter some negative results because of these performances. You cannot be performing poorly game after game. This game against Crystal Palace, where we drew, poor performance, poor results. There are two, however, the players and the manager have to take accountability. But what I'm going to do also at the end, I'm going to give you the bigger picture and who is responsible when it comes to the bigger picture. So yes, this game against Crystal Palace, poor game. And from the players' point of view, the players have to take some accountability because they were the ones out there on the pitch running, passing, and making all the actions and playing. They were the ones playing on the pitch. And there were too many players this game that were performing very, very poorly, that were performing below the standard of even if you want to say a professional Premier League player should be performing. There were too many players. And when you have a bunch of players that are not performing well in one game, it is very bad. It is very bad, and it's at a moment like that where you need the manager on the sideline, a strong manager on the sideline, giving instructions and motivating the team to go forward. Unfortunately, we got a manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's never on the touchline, and if he is on the touchline, he's keeping quiet because he generally just doesn't know what he's looking at. But I'll get into the manager. As I said, these players have a responsibility and need to take accountability for the performance that they put out tonight against Crystal Palace. Poor. Numerous of individual players were performing poorly. Numerous. It was a case of, you get games where you get a game where one player may be having a stinker. It's fine, you can carry that one player. But when you're talking about 4 players that are all having stinkers, it's hard. It's very difficult. And they have to take accountability. Let's start at the back. Okay, the keeper wasn't troubled at all. He got called into the game at the end, but that was offside anyway from Patrick Van Arnold. His run was offside, but the keeper made the save. So the keeper's out of the equation. The back four is out of the equation. What I will say about the back four is that our fullbacks should have got higher up the field. They should have been more attacking and more braver. When you look at the starting points of Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, where they were starting their runs from was too deep. It was too deep, especially when they're playing against a team that has a low block and that is sitting back. The fullbacks have to be higher up the field. But I can't fault the fullbacks. I can't fault Wan-Bissaka because I know Wan-Bissaka can't attack. I can't fault Luke Shaw because he was trying to attack, even though there weren't a lot of fruit coming from his attacks, but he was trying to. And he gave an opportunity to Marcus Rashford in the first half where Rashford's supposed to do better. But I'm not going to look at the back four because it's got nothing to do with the back four. The back four were okay. The midfield. Let's start off. Fred, poor game. Very, very, very poor. Fred. Can't pass the ball. Can't pass the ball 10 yards, 5 yards. Fred can't make that pass. 5 to 10 yards. I'm not talking about being able to make a through ball. I'm not talking about being able to switch the wings. Passing, switching the wings. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a normal 5 to 10 yard pass. Fred can't do that pass. Fred can't pass the ball. How many times did he give the ball away? It's not good enough. And it's not the first time. Fred generally can't pass the ball. Generally, he can't pass the ball. He's not very good on the ball. He had a poor game. A very poor game. Nemanja Matic. I won't say Matic had a poor game, but I will say as Matic was giving the ball away. Too many times in the first half, he gave the ball away to a Crystal Palace player. And they should have capitalized, but Crystal Palace won't capitalize because they don't have the player to capitalize on those moments. But I won't say Matic had a bad game. Fred, bad game. Mason Greenwood, bad game. Bad game in the points of, I won't say bad game, I'll say invisible. Mason Greenwood done nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm going to be honest with you here, guys. This has been Mason Greenwood's performances this whole season. This whole season, he's been a shadow of himself that he was last season. A shadow. And when you listen to the pundits, they still say Mason Greenwood is this great player, he's this very good player, which he is, but this season he's not good. That is the truth. He is not good this season. And yes, we can put it down to the manager not being able to get the best out of him, not putting him in situations on the pitch where he can get on the end of passes and so forth and so forth. But at the end of the day, Mason Greenwood is a winger. He needs to take the ball and do some basics with the ball. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. He's not creating anything. He's a winger. He's playing as a winger. Yes, maybe wants to be a number 9, and by trade he's a number 9, but Oli is putting him right now on the right wing, and he is not doing anything on the right wing. As a right winger, you need to get the ball, you need to hold the ball for us, you need to keep the ball, you need to, at times you need to be able to link the play, at times you need to be able to challenge your fullback one-on-one, go past your fullback, whoop in crosses, make through balls, get shots off. These are things that wingers should be doing. These are things that Mason Greenwood is doing nothing of. But it's been consistent throughout this whole season. He's not had a good season. At all. So he was invisible this game. But I won't say that he had a bad game. I'll just say that he done nothing this game. Bruno Fernandes done nothing this game. Absolutely nothing. Bruno Fernandes was like the fog. You couldn't see. You couldn't see Bruno Fernandes this game. And that's the trouble. It almost seems as if that if Bruno has a bad game, Manchester United have a bad game. It should never be like that. That's when you are dependent on one player and you're dependent on him and his individual brilliance. But when you have a system, that's why we always go back to the system is key in football. When you have a system, you see Kevin De Bruyne was out at Manchester City for about a month and a half. Manchester City went up to first place on the log without Kevin De Bruyne, stretched their lead to about 10 points without Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne came back for 2 games. I watched Manchester City for 2 games. He was poor because he was rusty. He never had sharpness. And Manchester City was still winning games. They can win games without Kevin De Bruyne. Manchester United cannot win games without Bruno Fernandes. The minute Bruno Fernandes has a poor game, it's an uphill battle for Manchester United. And this game, he was invisible. He did not do anything in this game. But the worst player on the pitch was Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford was the worst player on the pitch. And I'm talking about even from a Crystal Palace point of view, taking their players into consideration. Rashford was the worst player on the pitch. Rashford got the ball and ran into defenders. Literally ran into defenders. He never tried and push the ball one side and go around the defender, beat them with skill, nothing. The boy ran into defenders. He gave the ball away so cheaply. In the first half, he had a golden opportunity. Luke Shaw passed him the ball just on the edge of the box. Rashford is in the box, maybe just behind the penalty spot. Shot off target. He was looking at the goal and it's a clear shot on goal. At bare minimum, he needed to get the shot on target and make the keeper work. But that's bare minimum. I'll say Marcus Rashford should have scored that. because you can't score that. He had a straight view at the goal, nothing interrupting his view, nothing interrupting his shot. He pulled his shot wide. And from that moment, he was having stinkers. Literally stinking on the pitch. Poor performance from Marcus Rashford. Poor. And then you look at that young boy, Eze, that was playing for Crystal Palace. That's a footballer, guys. That boy, I think maybe he needs to get one more season at Palace and he needs to look at going to another club, you know, even if it's out of the Premier League, because he's too good for Palace. Every time that boy Eze got the ball, he was dribbling past 2-3 of our players with ease. Marcus Rashford needs to almost go and learn how to dribble from Eze, because Rashford can't dribble. Rashford gets the ball, he runs straight and he hopes that his pace will take him past the players instead of hoping that his dribbling skills and his trickery will take him past the players. Ran into defenders. I've never seen that. The last time I saw that was when, we were playing football when we were so young, when you were under nines, when you just run aimlessly and run into people. This is a professional footballer. You cannot run into defenders. They are going to get the ball from you. He was the worst player on the pitch. The worst player. And then you get Edinson Cavani, who was linking the play well, who was holding the ball well, but we did not create chances for Edinson Cavani. And that's Martial comes under a lot of criticism. And people say, yes, we need a better number 9. Martial's not our number 9. I agree we need a better number 9. But I also will tell you that Martial is one of the least of our problems. He's one of the least of our problems. Our problem is that, because it can't be, guys, when Martial's playing as the number 9 position, he has a poor game. Edinson Cavani plays in the number 9 position. He has a poor game because, he doesn't do anything in the box. Mason Greenwood plays in the number 9, he has a poor game. Rashford oddly sometimes plays in the number 9, he has a poor game. All 4 of these players play in the number 9 position from time to time, and they all don't get any joy out of the position. The reason is not because of the players. Not because of the players, because yes, I'll admit that Edinson Cavani, I don't think we can call him world class anymore because of his age. He was world class when he was at PSG in his prime. I don't think we can call him world class anymore. However, he's still a very, very good number 9. Still a very good number 9. And the problem we're having is that we're not creating chances for our number 9s. We're not creating any chances for our number 9s. A number 9 needs chances. A number 9 needs service, guys. He can't pick the ball up and do everything on his own. He needs service. You give him the assist, he gives you the goal. That's what a number 9 does. When you do not give a number 9 service, in turn he looks bad. But it's not that he's performing bad, it's that he's relying on you and you are letting him down. That's what we are doing at Manchester United. We are not creating chances at all. Chelsea game, we created no chances. We're not creating chances. Real Sociedad, we created no chances with the 0-0. So that's the worrying thing, is that we're not creating chances. So we can't just be looking at the number 9s. I agree that we need a better number 9 than Martial going forward. I 100% agree. I grew up watching Ruud van Nistelrooy. Martial is a long way off Ruud van Nistelrooy. So yes, we do need a better striker than Anthony Martial, but that's one of the least of our worries. We've got a greater worry than Anthony Martial that we need to focus on. And one of the worries is that we're not creating chances for our number 9s. No matter which number 9 you put there, you can put Erling Haaland, who's one of the best number 9s right now in football. He will struggle in this team because we're not creating chances. And that is the problem. This game against Palace, we did not create chances. Look at the football that we are playing. So as I'm saying, the players are accountable. The players are to blame, because there was individual players that were not having a good game. The players are to blame. And then you go to the manager, and the manager is to blame as well, because he is the one that sets up the team. Now, I liked the 11 that he put out. David De Gea is out the team because of personal issues. Anthony Martial is not there. He picked up an injury. Paul Pogba is still recovering. Donny van de Beek, I don't know what's happening with Donny. I think he's still recovering. I'm not too sure. But I personally like this 11 that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put out. However, Ole is the manager. He should know, like me and you, we know when you are playing Crystal Palace, they come with a low block. Crystal Palace always has a low block. Crystal Palace is not going to come and play football. They're going to sit back and say, you break us down. We know this, guys. The manager should know this. How do you play two holding midfielders against Crystal Palace? That is, I'm sorry, that's a sackable offense, because it's not the first time it's happening. He does it every time, and every time I'm speaking here and I'm always telling you the same thing. Go and look at my previous videos. How can you play two holding midfielders against a team that is sitting deep, that has a low block? How do you play two holding midfielders? You need to release one of those holding midfielders into a number 8 or a number 10 position to add another body in and around the box so that you have a greater chance of scoring a goal. That's what our manager should do. He never done that. He sets up with two holding midfielders going against Crystal Palace. Now that tells me either he never do his homework, or that tells me he just generally does not know what he's doing. I believe that he just doesn't know what he's doing. His approach is wrong. Then when you're playing a low block, it's not individual brilliance that breaks down a low block. It's a system that breaks down a low block, and we do not have a system. When you give us the ball, the football, we are playing football. When you give us the football, we don't know what we are doing. We don't know what we are doing. But when you give us cross to run into, then we look like one of the best teams in the world when we are running into cross, because that's our tactic, that's our style of play, if you want to call it a style of play. But that's the manager's philosophy, is counter-attacking football. And counter-attacking football is football for a small team. It's not football for a big team. It's not football that is going to win you trophies. There's no team in Europe that is playing counter-attacking football that is winning trophies. It does not happen. Look in the Champions League. Bayern Munich won the Champions League. They play front foot football. They don't play counter-attacking football. Counter-attacking football is negative football. You're literally inviting the opponent onto you and you're going to counter them. That's not front foot football. Front foot football is taking the ball with your own team and you going against the opposition. So we have to get another style of play. We have to get another style of play. We have to get a proper system, something that we lack. We need to teach the boys what to do with the football. And that comes down to the manager. And this is what I say, I'm going to get into the bigger picture, guys, is that this performance and result that we got against Crystal Palace, the performance is not the first time we've seen it. We've seen this performance all too often this season and even last season. We've seen these performances literally every second game. Manchester United perform like this. The thing that gets us away is that a moment of brilliance from Bruno Fernandes, a moment of brilliance from Marcus Rashford or one of our players, and we'll score a goal because they are so good. And then for some people that don't analyze the game, that then makes people think that we had a good game. But when you analyze the game and you see Manchester United, this is how we play. We don't create much opportunities. We never ever open defenses up. We never ever move defenses. Never ever ever. Everything is static. Everything is in front of them. Nothing is going in behind. Nothing at all. There's no passing patterns. You will never see triangles in our play. How can it not be triangles? How can it not be triangles? How can you never ever see Manchester United playing one-touch football? Never. This is what I'm saying. The bigger picture is that this performance we gave against Palace is a performance that we give almost every second game. And something has to change. And as I'm saying, we've got a bigger issue than Anthony Martial. And the bigger issue is the manager. He's the biggest issue that we have because he knew how Palace plays and he still sets up negative. To play against Palace, he still sets up with two holding midfielders. Knowing Palace is not going to attack us, knowing they're going to sit deep, he still sets up with two holding midfielders. When he saw the game panning out and you saw, okay, you know what, Palace are sitting deep, they're not causing us any trouble, he still maintained two holding midfielders. He did not try and change anything from the touchline. Did not try and change anything from the touchline. Look at his substitutions. How can you take off Edison Cavani? Edison Cavani is our only goal poacher that we have. He's the only player in the team that we have that in the box is a fox in the box. He can score goals in and around the box. He's brilliant. That's his game. He can score tap-ins. He can score the ugly goals. The goals that Rashford and Martial can't score, Oli even admitted they can't score that. Edison Cavani scores those goals. You're playing in a low block. In a low block, you need a fox in the box. You need someone to score a tap in. How do you take off Cavani and bring on Daniel James? Daniel James is a counter-attacking player. How do you make that substitution? People will say, okay, maybe he's protecting Cavani through fatigue and injury. Cavani needs to play. You need to think about this game. As Pep Guardiola says, the most important game that you are playing is this game here that you are going to play. And when you finish this game, it's the next game. You cannot think about the next game before you finish the game that you are in. Think about that game. He needed to leave Edison Cavani on. He took Edison Cavani off, put Daniel James. What sense is that? Look how late he made the substitutions. Why couldn't we maybe see Diallo? These are things that the manager has to answer. The manager is our biggest problem right now. His lack of coaching is hurting us. And the mainstream media will not say anything about it because they're all Ollie's friends and they played with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So it's a disappointing result, guys. It's a disappointing result. Not because in terms of the title. You know, we were never in the title race. We were never in the title race. Manchester City were always going to win this title. They had so many games in hand. It's just a matter of them playing those games in hand. When they did play the games in hand, they moved up to number one on the log. So this is a disappointing result because when Leicester dropped points, we ended up also dropping points with Leicester. If Chelsea somehow beat Liverpool, we've got a big problem. We've got a very big problem. So that's my match review, guys. Disappointing results. I'll see you all for the match preview of Manchester City versus Man United. I know that will be a better game because City come out and play football, and that's playing into Manchester United's hands. I'll see you all.